if I look at myself, if I look at life from an unbiased perspective, I realize that I have no need to be alive. I love it. I hate the alternative, but I don't need it. Shavuos has a special place, of course, even among the holidays, because none of the other holidays would exist if it weren't for Shavuos, the day that the Torah was given. In the Torah, we find out that there is a holiday called Pesach, and there's a holiday called Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. We would know none of this if it weren't for the holiday of Shavuos, for what happened on the day of Shavuos. What exactly happened? We know the details. The Jews were taken out of Egypt. 50 days later, they were gathered at the foot of Har Sinai. On the way to Har Sinai, they had miracles, splitting of the sea. Now they're standing at Har Sinai. There is thunder, there is lightning, and God descends on the mountain. And everybody hears the commandments. And then Moshe comes down off the mountain with the 10 commandments engraved in stone. Like they say, the rest is history. We have the 10 commandments. Michelangelo creates a statue of Moshe holding the 10 commandments, gives us the wrong impression, turns the commandments or the stone of the commandments into tablets, which they were not. They were actually square cubes of precious stone, sapphire. But the world knows that there were 10 commandments. But what exactly did happen at Mount Sinai? We call it a revelation. Something was revealed. And it wasn't the commandments. Commandments are given, told, commanded. What was revealed? If we look a little deeper, what was revealed was the commander through the commandments. So what happened at Mount Sinai was the initiation of a special relationship. God made himself available, and we pledged ourselves to him. In simple language, the creator of the universe made himself available, meaning he revealed his purpose, his goal, his objective. He thereby becomes reachable, available, in a sense, touchable. And in response, we dedicated ourselves to that purpose, to his purpose. Now that is a revelation. Where were we? So, revelation means making yourself known. And that's really the proper definition of communication. What does it mean to communicate? If I tell you how much 2 and 2 is, I'm not really communicating. Yes, I'm sharing some information. You can do that on the internet very well. The internet is the communication, the information highway, but it is not good communication. Because communication means letting yourself be known. The Alter Rebbe, in moments of great ecstasy, would say in Yiddish, Du Gott, Ata, Heiresa, hast sich bewiesen, lo das am soll dir kennen. Ata, Heiresa, lo das. Ata, du Gott, Heiresa, hast sich bewiesen, hast sich gelost sehen. Lo das am soll dir wissen. In other words, the whole event at Mount Sinai was God wants us to know Him. To know Him, not to consider the commandments something separate from Him. So the commandments now take on a whole new meaning. They're not just things that need to happen. They're not just good advice for how human beings can get a good life. A how-to manual. No, every commandment is a little piece of Him. This is Him. This is what He loves. This is what He hates. This is what gives Him pleasure. This is what gives Him pain. This is self-revelation. And that's why the Medrash tells us that the first word of the Ten Commandments, meaning the first word that God spoke to the Jewish people ever, was the word Onechi. 4 letters, Aleph, Nun, Chaf, Yud. And the letters stand for, they're the initials, for the 4 words, Ano, Nafshi, Ksovis, Yehovis. I give myself in writing to you. I give myself, my essence, in writing, in written form, to you. I am writing to you my soul. That was referring to the 10 Commandments, which God Himself wrote on the stone. All right, so what do we have here? The day of Shavuot at Har Sinai is our wedding anniversary, and the location or the address, the venue of that wedding. He initiated the relationship, we responded. That's Shavuot. So initially we were thinking Shavuot is the beginning of everything, because how else would we know that certain animals are not kosher? How else would we know that certain labors are forbidden on Shabbat? How else would we know that you're supposed to fast on Yom Kippur? So all our information comes from Shavuot. It is the source of everything. But everything referring to information. Shavuos is the source of all of our information. But now we're taking it a step much deeper. The reason Shavuos is the source of everything is because that's when we got married. You get married, everything else is commentary. So when God not only revealed himself in that we knew that there was a God, he revealed himself in a much more personal, much more intimate fashion. He asked us to be his because he is committed to being ours. And in fact, throughout the Torah, when God needs to identify himself, how does he describe himself? The God of Israel. That's his identity. Yes, he's the creator of the world. Maybe that's his profession. But who is he? He is the God of Israel. Hashem Elikei Yisrael. What does this have to do with our lives today? It seems like more than ever before in history, where forever we have been asking the question, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Why were we born? Why do we exist? The question started with Adam and Chava and has never stopped. Every generation, all over the world, all human beings ask this question in millions of different formats. Some ask it when they're desperate. Some ask it only when something bad happens. When life is good, nobody bothers. Some ask it philosophically, even when things are good. It's an interesting conversation. Purpose of life. But however you approach it and in whatever context you find it, it's always been there. And yet in our days, particularly in the last 4 years, the question has become more intense, more urgent, and more popular. Everybody feels the pressure, the need to know. Why are we here? Without an answer to that question, we don't do so well. We get disheartened, discouraged, distracted, sometimes even depressed, and not infrequently suicidal. So this is no longer an academic question. It is not a philosophical or religious question. It seems a visceral need because of the nature of the human being. Unlike the animal, unlike the plants, unlike the minerals, the nature of the human being is purpose-driven. It's not an ideal. It's not being noble, it's being human. So all human beings share it in common. Here's a fascinating but enlightening view of what a human being is. We get away with saying, well, a human being is an intelligent being. That's what separates us from the animal. The animal has a very limited intelligence, more of an instinctive intelligence, acquired, whereas human beings can think in the abstract. We don't learn from nature. We can actually determine or manipulate, conquer nature, because we can think abstract. Okay, nice. Doesn't yet tell us the full greatness of a human being. A more significant difference is this. A mineral exists. Not much more. A stone is a stone. What does it do? Hardly anything. But it exists. And it is content to be that way. The vegetable has some symptoms of life. It grows, it blossoms, it develops, it matures. A fruit becomes ripe. There's signs of life, progress, movement. There's also beauty, the variety of colors, the shades of colors, the mix of colors, combination of colors. It's breathtaking. And then there's the bouquet, the rose and its legendary scent. All of this are signs of life, which means signs of pleasure. You could say plants also exist, just like the stone does, but the plant, in addition to existing, takes pleasure in its existence. It loves to exist. And that shows in the growth, in the development, in the color, and in the scent. When it has that, when a plant, a flower, a tree is allowed to blossom, it's content. The animal, going up to the next level of existence, also exists, but the animal has a passion for life, not just a pleasure, a passive pleasure, but an aggressive passion for life. In other words, it enjoys its existence passionately, to where it will try to increase its existence, and it will protect its existence. It will fight for its existence. When you give the animal that freedom, he's content. In other words, the mineral is content to be a mineral without pleasure. The flower is content to be a flower with pleasure. And the animal is content to be an animal with its passion. Now comes the human being. What is unique about the human being is that the human being exists. The human being flowers, grows, develops like a plant, and it has a passion. The human being has a passion for life, will fight to defend its life and protect its life. But unlike the others, it is not content. When a human being is allowed to be, is allowed to enjoy, and is allowed to express its passion, not content. In fact, the very definition of a human being is the discontent. A human being is never content to be human. The human being who is happy being human is an animal, an intelligent animal. But the truth of the human is that with the existence, with the pleasure, with the passion, and with the intelligent, not content. Simple reason. The human being is purpose-driven. Purpose-driven means I was created a human being with intelligence. That's what I am. But where's the purpose? So no matter how much enjoyment I have, no matter how much passion I put into life, and no matter how much I learn about the world and myself and nature, no matter how intelligent I am, I still have a essential, visceral question. So what? So I have my passion, I have my enjoyment, I have my existence, and I have my intelligence. Where do I go from there? All of that is given to me. I am born human. I'm created human with all of the gifts and talents that a human being has. So why am I not content? Because I wasn't born to be human. I was born to become something more. That's what we mean by purpose. I have money, I have intelligence, I have influence, I have everything. And I don't know what it's for. So a person today who is worth $200 billion, he's content? No, he's miserable. Can't figure out why would anybody have $200 billion? Why? It eats him up, drives him crazy. Because a human being, by his very nature, deeper than Freud's libido, deeper than Adler's need for power, deeper than Maslow's pyramid of needs, the human need is purpose. What for? We come to another very important conclusion. If I look at myself, if I look at life from an unbiased perspective, I realize that I have no need to be alive. I love it. I hate the alternative. But I don't need it. Life should be a pleasure, not a need. And that's why, God forbid, when life is not a pleasure, who needs it? Scary observation. So when people ask, what is the purpose of life? They're actually saying, a human life does not justify itself. You have a good life. Okay, what for? Wouldn't we be better off not asking that question? You're alive, you have what to eat, you have what to do. Stop kvetching. Enjoy. Or that infamous quote, eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow it's all over. So stop asking purpose and stop asking reasons and stop being philosophical. Eat, drink, and be merry. That's life. We tried it. We still try it desperately. We try to numb ourselves by enjoying life. The question doesn't go away. In fact, 10-year-olds are now asking, as young as 10 years old. And they're not asking it academically or idly or out of curiosity. They define themselves, their place in the world, their obligations in the world on this question. I have to clean up my room? I didn't ask to be born. If my whole life isn't reasonable, I don't know why I'm here in the first place. How can I take cleaning up my room seriously? I don't know why I'm alive. I don't know why I was born. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I must clean up my room. It's not sensible. I must make the most of my life and be the best I can be. No, I don't need this, any of it. So I should make the most of a life that isn't necessary at all. It's senseless. This leads us to the topic of today. Who am I? What am I worth? And why am I here? So there's a lot of talk in psychology, pop psychology, modern psychology, all about self-worth. Do you have a low self-image? How sad. What can we do to help you gain a high self-image? A good self-image? That should be your first commitment to yourself, to validate yourself, to feel good about yourself. And so you're told that you are indispensable and you are wonderful. Come on. We're not children. And even today's children are not children. You can't placate them with empty words, with vain compliments. It's not working. Really is not working. It's creating such frustration in children that they're out of control. So the harder we try to give our children a high self-image or a good self-image, the worse their self-image becomes. So let's get to some definitions. A good self-image is not about oneself. A good self-image means I know why I'm here. That is a very positive self-image. Validate yourself by telling myself that I'm good and smart and capable. No. You validate yourself when your existence becomes valid. And what makes your existence valid? You know what you're here for. Knowing what you have makes you more insecure. I have so much that I can't explain. I have such a big existence that I can't justify. See, people who are barely alive in third world countries who literally live from day to day, they don't have a low self-image. They're too busy with survival to worry about whether, am I good? How do you love me now? Am I better than? Am I worse than? Foolish thoughts when you have more important things to worry about. But it's not worry, it's purpose. So, what is a good self-image? I know where I belong in this universe. Doesn't matter how talented, how smart, how rich I am. You can be very smart and very rich and very powerful. You don't know where you fit in. You don't know why you're here. With your money, with your intelligence, with your talents. Why is it all here? People without talent and without wealth and without gifts, but they know why they're here, that's a good self-image. So Mark Twain said, very wisely, the two most significant days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And the second one is more significant than the first. How do we find out why we're born? How do we find out what we're here for? How do we discover the purpose of life? Well, you got to ask the Creator. One of the most powerful proofs that there is a Creator, an intelligent Creator, and a purposeful Creator. The most powerful proof is this natural instinct in human beings to look for the purpose. If we were not created purposeful, why would we always be looking for purpose? It's crippling. It's a waste of energy. If we are not here for a purpose, if we are not created out of a purpose, and therefore we are not purposeful creatures, why would we undermine ourselves constantly asking for the purpose? Why wouldn't we eat, drink, and be merry without having to be told? If life is good, it's good. Why are you looking for trouble? And yet, universally, historically, everywhere, every time, people needed to know what is the purpose, proving that our existence has a purpose. How can our existence have a purpose? If there was a purposeful Creator. This takes us back to Mount Sinai. The revelation at Mount Sinai, when God reveals himself, that tells us what our purpose in existing is. How are the two related? It turns out that God's purpose in creating us is because we are necessary for Him. We are needed. When you are needed, well, then you have a purpose to fulfill that need. Do you have a need? No. You exist to fulfill a need, not to be needy. So every need we have is really a pathway to fulfilling God's need in creating us. So why do we need to eat? It serves God's purpose. Why do we need to sleep? Serves God's purpose. Otherwise, why would a human being need to sleep? Human beings are capable, intelligent, resourceful, creative, imaginative, inventive. Half your life you sleep? Why? Why? It doesn't help you be human. That you're dependent on food, on things that grow from the ground like an animal. You fight the rabbit for the carrot because the rabbit lives on the carrot and you live on the carrot. This shouldn't be. Human beings should not be in competition with rabbits or with locusts. So it's not like, well, that's the definition of human. No, it's not. It's a mystery. So it turns out eating is not a human need. Eating is the Creator's need. He needs us to eat. There are fascinating explanations, which doesn't really pertain right now. Doesn't matter what that purpose is, but that it's His purpose, not mine. God says to Adam and Chava, be fruitful and multiply. Of all the trees in the garden you may eat. Why were these instructions necessary? There's a garden, there are trees, and there are fruits. When they'll get hungry, they'll eat the fruits. Why do you have to tell them? You can say, well, He was giving them permission, which is very nice. They wouldn't eat without permission since they didn't create those trees. True and correct. And that's part of why we make a bracha before we eat. It's like asking permission. It's like saying, if I may, I would like to eat this fruit. Without that permission, they would not eat. But there's more. You can view God's statement of all the fruits of the garden you may eat as part of the mission. Part of your mission is use the world and have it participate in your service of God. When you get energy from the food, and with that energy you do a mitzvah, now the food is doing a mitzvah. So by eating, you are fulfilling God's purpose in creating trees, fruits, wheat, the fruit of the trees, the fruit of the earth. in some way, even sleeping, serves God's purpose. Being fruitful and multiplying, procreating. Did God really have to tell Adam and Eve? Every kid figures out how to procreate. Unfortunately, without being told. Why did God have to tell them? God was saying, being fruitful and multiplying serves my purpose. Don't claim it for yourself. Don't say it's your need like Freud. It is an impulse and an instinct that God puts into people because God needs it to be there. It's part of what we are needed for. So imagine a teenage boy travels overseas and he arrives at his destination and he's looking for a phone to call his mother because he needs to call his mother to tell her that he arrived safely. He's a good boy, but he's a liar. He needs to call his mother to tell her that he arrived safely. It's not honest and it's not true. The reason he's going to call his mother is because his mother needs him to call, because she needs to know that he arrived safely. So, what would you consider this misstatement when the boy says, I need to call my mother? Would you call it dishonest, a lie, confusion? He's confused? Out of touch with reality? He thinks he needs it? He needs to go on with his adventure. His mother is sitting by the phone waiting. So who needs? So we got to be careful when we say, I need this, I need that. Wait. Think. Who needs? Give me liberty or give me death. Not a Jewish concept. Thank God for that. Because if we had that mentality, give me liberty or give me death, we would long be gone from the face of the earth. It's not correct. Give me liberty or give me death is based on the misconception. I have needs. I have very strong needs, very deep needs. And if I can't satisfy those needs, then I might as well not be here. Give me liberty or give me death. Or Romeo and Juliet. If we can't have the love we want or the pleasure, then no point in hanging around. So not correct. We're not here for our purposes. We're not here to be needy and to get frustrated when we don't have what we think we need. We're here because we're needed. So if you don't have liberty, you're not needed. If you can't have the love of your life, you're not needed. So as soon as we start to think, I need to call my mother, your life is in danger. As soon as you describe your life as the pursuit of the fulfillment of your needs, what if you can't? Then your life is over. It's a slow suicide. And the reason is because the need is not true. The need is pathological, not only the suicidal impulse. Pathological means it's not natural. It is not the nature of a human being to fulfill his needs. See, Freud had us all convinced that the biggest purpose and drive and need in a human being is pleasure. We were convinced. Yeah, that drives everything. Behind everything, there's a sexual meaning, there's a sexual connotation. It's all about getting pleasure. The other experts did not agree with that. So Adler, another nice Jewish boy, says, no, it's not pleasure. It's the feeling of control. We need to feel like we're in control of our lives. Loss of control is intolerable. That's our most essential need. So if I can't get the pleasure I want, it's not the lack of pleasure, it's the fact that I can't get it. I'm not in control. That's devastating. I need control. I need to be the captain of my ship and the master of my soul. And then Frankl came along and said, no. I was in a concentration camp and I had no control and I had no power and I was not the captain of my ship and I was not the master of my soul. And I survived because there's something far more important that makes you a human being. I had a purpose. So take away my liberty, take away my pleasure, take away my freedoms, and I still have a purpose. And that makes life sacred. So here's a fascinating simplification of the most complicated subject in the world. We have freedom of choice. Why? When? For what? Do I really have the freedom to marry whoever I want? Absolutely not. I have the freedom to marry or not marry. But who I'm going to marry? How much freedom do I have? Of all the people in the world, how many people are you attracted to and would want to marry? Not by your choice, but by the way you're designed. Certain people are not your type. So of all the people in the world, in the course of 100 years, you might meet 20 people who you could consider marrying. 10 of them are a little too old. 8 of them are a little too young. Okay, now we're down to 2. And there's one you really want to marry, but she doesn't want to marry you. Okay, now we're down to 1. That's not a choice. You have no choice. There's one person that you could marry who also wants to marry you. Freedom of choice? Yes, you can either marry her or not marry her. Freedom of choice. But who you're going to marry, God never gave you freedom of choice. I can buy any house I want and live wherever I want. Not true. Not true. I can't take uh, I can't take the heat. I can't breathe where it's humid. Okay, so I can't buy a house wherever I want. I also can't take extreme cold. So I can't live wherever I want. And if the places where I can live because the uh, the weather is suitable for me, this town I cannot live in because it's so expensive I can't afford it. The other town that has a perfect climate, I can't live in it. It's crime ridden. It's ugly. I finally find the house in the climate that suits me in a city that I could live in, and it's not too expensive. It's not for sale. So again, how much freedom of choice do I have? If a house is in the right climate, in the right price range, in the right kind of a city, and it's available for sale, I can buy it or not buy it. I can't buy any house anywhere in the world. So, what is this vaunted freedom of choice that we are so proud of? Concerning a modern day issue, you have freedom of choice? You can choose whether you want to be male or female? No. No matter how many operations you have. It's not your choice. Our freedom of choice comes down to this. You can either be needy or you can be needed. Your choice. Think of your own needs or think about what you're needed for. That is a significant choice. Really significant. And only you can make that choice. Choose to be needy, you're probably going to end up depressed. If you focus on being needed, you will probably fulfill the purpose for which you were created. Isn't this fascinating? And yet so simple. When something is fascinating and simple, you know it's true. Because the most simple thing in the universe is truth. Truth is simple, but profound, essential. It gets right to the core. The core is always simple. Do we have the capacity for questions? Technologically, can we post a few questions and see what people are thinking? Chabad of Sweden?
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. This has been amazing. Rabbi Friedman has the uncanny ability to put profound ideas into the most incredible, I would say, fridge magnets. And, I've been just thinking here all the time that you're talking, you just debunked so many myths in just a single sentence. And it's been absolutely fascinating to listen to this. And thank you so, so much for joining us over here. It's an honor to have you joining us from all over Europe. And it's wonderful to see so many people joining from all over.
It just tells us that the internet is really a blessing. We should stop. We should stop condemning it as the most evil thing in the world. Do we have some questions?
I'm sure Sharon has a question.
Okay.
This is the thing with us Europeans. It always takes a moment for the questions to come. So everybody bring them on. Don't be shy.
For questions, they'll have to text you, and then you'll present them to Rabbi Friedman. Is that possible?
Sure.
So the questions will pop up in the chat.
Yes. So meanwhile, people are saying Rena is saying that it's been very, very interesting speech, and thank you so much. And Katerina is saying, thank you, always happy to listen to Rabbi. I have to say, when a lot of people heard this was Rabbi Friedman coming on, it was just everybody was just stopped whatever they were doing and came on to join us. So this is really great. And I just want to say a very big thank you also to Leah Liberov for organizing this and making it all happen. It's just really, so Leah, a special thank you to you for organizing all these different talks, and especially tonight. This was just beautiful, and really preparing us for Shavuot in an incredible way with so many truths, so many home runs.
So if there are no questions, let me conclude with what I was hoping somebody would ask. If in fact we are needed, what are we needed for? That's the ultimate question. Fascinating for those of you who know the story of the man who came to Hillel and said, convert me while I'm standing on one foot, which means give me the essence of Torah in one simple sentence while I stand on one foot. What did Hillel say to him? Love your fellow Jew. What is harmful to you, hateful to you, don't do to others. What is the story behind the story? Because, if I was the rabbi and somebody came to me and said, I would like to convert to Judaism standing on one foot, I would tell him to try Catholicism. Like, what are you playing games? What is this? Ridiculous. Go learn. In fact, Hillel actually said to him, this is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Go learn. I would have started with the go learn. What's with the 1 foot? You're not sincere. You're not. It's a funny story. So here's what a famous holy man in recent years in Poland explained it this way. The man came to Hillel and said, if you can tell me what the one leg is all about, I will convert. What is one leg? In Hebrew, it's regel achas. Regel also means holiday. The man came to Hillel and said, I'm studying Torah. I did learn. I'm not some I'm not some clown trying to balance on one foot. And I learned that there are three festivals: Sholish Regolim. There is Pesach, there is Shavuos, there is Sukkot. And I understand them. Pesach celebrates coming out of Egypt. Sukkot celebrates 40 years of being protected from the elements. And Shavuos, that's the day the Torah was given. So the three festivals I understand. Explain to me the one festival, the Regel Achas, Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres is its own holiday. But what happened on Shmini Atzeres? What are we celebrating? Nothing happened. So the man was actually a deep thinker, and he was saying, there are parts of the Torah that I understand. Something happened, you celebrate it. But there are mysteries in Torah. There is a holiday, Shmini Atzeres, and nothing happened. What are we celebrating? So if you can reveal to me the meaning of the enigmatic parts of Torah, then I'll be ready to convert. What is Shmini Atzeres? Shmini Atzeres is when God said to the Jewish people at the end of the Sukkot holiday, when they had come on a pilgrimage, Aliyas HaRegel, and they were all gathered in Jerusalem. And the holiday is over, and they're ready, all of them, to go back to their homes, to disperse to all the various parts of Israel. And God said to them, stay one more day. Yom Tov is over, and you're ready to go home, but don't go yet. Stay one more day, because kosha olai predaschem. It is hard for me to separate from you. I hate goodbyes. So God says, let's make one more day a holiday, just so that we can have a day together. Because it is hard for me. God says, it is hard for me to have you all leave and go home. That's it. That's all that happened on Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day. Now, let's try to understand this. What is God saying? It's hard for me to see you leave. Leave what? God is everywhere. It's not like if you leave Jerusalem, you're out of touch. So there's a relationship with God that is involuntary. Wherever you go, God is there. God is the creator. It's unavoidable. It's not optional. It's not negotiable. But when Jews leave their homes and come to Yerushalayim because they want to get closer to God, that is so hard for God to end. Sure, God is going to be our God everywhere all the time, but that special, intimate moment, God says it's hard for me to go back to business as usual, which is godly, but it's the usual godly. So when the man asked Hillel, what is the essence of this mysterious holiday? Hillel simply said, Avas Yisrael, God's Avas Yisrael. So what is it that God needs from us? Boy, it's so amazing. We just finished giving God 7 days of Yontif. We sat in sukkahs, we shook a lulav and esrog. We did everything you're supposed to do for the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Now it's the day after. And God says, no, let's spend the day together. Doing what? Nothing. Nothing. You don't sit in the sukkah, you don't shake a lulav and esrog, but don't go home. Stay with me. In other words, what does God really want? He just wants you. He wants you. So on the 8th day, God is saying to the Jewish people, you think I brought you here to sit in a sukkah? I brought you here to shake a lulav and esrog. You can shake a lulav and esrog anywhere. You can build a sukkah everywhere. But I need your closeness. Even when there's no sukkah and no lulav and no esrog. So what is the purpose and the reason for God creating us? He says it very clearly. Ve'atem tihiyu li, and you will be mine. The rest is commentary. So does he want something from us? No. He wants us. Some people say, no, he wants us to do his mitzvahs. His mitzvahs he already had before he created us. And God says, be holy for I am holy. Yes, you are holy without us. What do you need us to be holy for? We're not going to add any holiness to your holiness. So it can't be God created us to be holy. He was already holy. And he was already Shabbosdik. And he was already kosher. What does he need us for? To be kosher with him. To be Shabbosdik with him. So the Shabbos he already had. Now, if we join him in the Shabbos, what does he gain? Not more Shabbos, he gains us. You want your children to sit at a Shabbos table with you. Why? So that there are more Shomrei Shabbos? Is that what you're looking for? Or do you want your child by your side when you're keeping Shabbos? You want your child to keep it with you. Because you want your child, not because you want more Shabbos. Can you unmute? Did everybody hear you except me?
No, oh, now it works. Okay, thank you for unmuting. Okay, so there are some beautiful questions coming through here, but before I say the questions, I just want to say that was the most beautiful explanation I have ever heard on the famous 1 foot Hillel story. So that was beautiful. It was worth coming on just for that. So there's a very important question here. The feeling needy, though, how do you separate feeling needy and having needs? It's a great question.
Yeah. Well, the difference is whether you identify with it or simply recognize its existence. A human being must sleep. I have to sleep? Is that what I'm all about? No. No, I got to stay up to do what I'm all about. And yet I can't. So first of all, let's not call it a need, let's call it a handicap. Because I need it like a hole in the head. Secondly, if it is a need, it's not mine. I didn't ask for it, I don't like it, I don't want it, and it doesn't make me more human. It makes me less human, more like the animal, more like the plant. Plants also eat. So, two things. First of all, it's not a need. Second of all, it's not mine. I'm stuck with it. Doesn't make it mine. So, yes, I must eat, but I don't need that.
That's great. That's great. That's a marvelous definition. Here we
Yes,
have another question.
so marvelous that you can actually eat l'shem shamayim without any kavana whatsoever. See, every time you eat, you're eating because that's what God wants. But you ruin it by saying, I have to eat. I want to eat. I need to eat. Leave it alone and it's l'shem shamayim.
That was great.
No,
That's
but
that's
that is the real meaning of kol ma'asecha l'shem shamayim. That's not a perspective, it's a fact. Kol ma'asecha is l'shem shamayim. Don't ruin it.
fantastic. Fantastic. So here we have another question. What does it mean that God needs us? What is his need?
It is not good to be alone. Who said that? God was explaining himself. If it was just about the human being, it's not good for a human being to be alone. Why do you have to say it? You know, it's not good for a tree to be alone. It has to have water. Fine. You don't have to say it. It's not good for the sun to be alone. There also has to be a moon. He didn't say that. He created the sun and then he created the moon. So if it's not enough to have a man and you want to create a woman, go right ahead. Why do you have to make a statement about it? It's almost like God is justifying himself. In case you're wondering why I'm creating a woman, who's wondering? Nobody was wondering. and why when it comes to creating a woman, all of a sudden he has to apologize? His purpose could not be revealed on the first day of creation, because on the first day he created light. Are you going to tell light what its purpose is? On the fourth day, he created the sun and the moon. You're going to tell them what their purpose is? On the fourth day. On the fifth day, he created a bunch of creepy, crawly things. There's nobody to talk to. When God creates Adam, now I got to tell you why I'm creating. Why? It's not good to be alone. And I can imagine Adam saying, come on, you're God. You can handle being alone. And God said, of course I can handle it, but there's nothing good about it. So to not be alone, God created us and gave us freedom of choice. Now he is not alone. So what does he want from us? Just to be there with him. It's like when you're looking to get married, you're dating, you're doing all sorts of things, you're dressing up, you're making all sorts of plans and schemes, and then you get married and it's like, now what? Now what? Now you're not alone. So literally, it is a marriage. In a marriage, you don't need something from your spouse. You need a spouse. So what's with all the mitzvahs? All the mitzvahs is God telling you what he does so that you can be by his side. During the week, I'm busy creating. Come, create with me. On Shabbos, I don't create. Well, then don't create with me. There are certain things I hate. Hate them with me. So God tells us which page he's on so that we can be on the same page. That's what the mitzvahs are. Not I need to keep Shabbos. Not I need to keep kosher. I need to know which page God is on because I want to be on the same page with him. That's what he needs from me. That's where I feel needed. That's what is the purpose of my existence. You got muted again?
Okay, so thank you. That was beautiful. I think my favorite Rabbi Friedman fridge magnet is often quoted here by Sharon, where she says, Rabbi Friedman says, Judaism is not a religion, it's a relationship. And I think if there's one thing we can all come away with, it's that concept that you're teaching us in such a powerful way. Profoundly moving, these answers. Here's another question, and I think we're about to find a Nobel Prize winner for the $1 million answer, the $1 million question: what to say to child why he should clean his room? We're all holding our breaths.
Don't ask him to clean the room. Stop it. No one has ever won that argument. it's not worth it. It's not worth it. What you should do is you should say to a child, come help me clean the room. Do it with me. You know, a really sad story. I was talking to a mother who was having a hard time getting along with her daughter, her teenage daughter. And I said to her, let me suggest something. When your daughter is home and you're going out on an errand, ask your daughter to come with you. She said, why? I said, just to be together. She said, what will we talk about? Do you hear this?
Wow.
She says, what will we talk about? I said, what do you prepare speeches for your daughter? Don't talk about anything. She said, then what for? You see what the problem is between the mother and daughter? Well, we'll be sitting in the car together and not even talking. I mean, what for? That's the exact opposite of what a relationship should be. How do I get my kid to talk? Don't talk. How do I get him to clean up the room? Don't clean up the room. You're missing the point. The point is, you love a clean room. So if your kid cleans up the room, you feel you're on the same page. It's the kid, not the room. And when you make it sound like the room is more important than the child, he's not going to do it. So, a frum grandfather says to his grandson, You have to go to the minyan. Kid says, I have to? I don't have to. No, you need to. You need to. You need to keep kosher. You need to keep Shabbos. You must. And the kid says, no. He's not saying I don't want to. Don't get angry and don't get into a fight. Have the courage to admit that your grandson is right. He doesn't need to. The conversation, the argument is really not productive. You have to. No, I don't. Yes, you have to. You must. No, I don't. In the end, the child says, look, I really don't need to do it, and I'll prove it to you. I'm not keeping kosher anymore. See? I don't need it. I didn't die. I didn't get sick. Fine. I don't need it. Who's right? See how dangerous it is to take something that you are needed for and make it your need? When you tell a child you need to keep kosher, you're creating a problem. Because the kid is going to wake up and say one day, like, no, I don't need. In fact, I've tried it both ways and I don't need to keep kosher. So you lied to me. That's it, it's all over. So if a kid says, no, I don't, the wise thing to do is to say, oh, you're right. You don't need to keep kosher, but God needs you to do it. That's simply the truth. Why embellish? Is there anything wrong with saying God needs you to keep kosher? Must there be something in it for me before I'm willing to do it? Why do you underestimate me like that? Why do so many rabbis believe that if you don't offer a reward and punishment, nobody would do a mitzvah? That's so nasty. On the contrary, we've learned since the Baal Shem Tov, we have learned that no matter how much reward or punishment you offer or threaten, people will not do it. But as soon as you tell them, God needs you to do it, people who never did a mitzvah before get excited. Because the truth is, we would rather be needed than be needy. You know, if you're making lunch and you're the only one home, what kind of lunch are you going to make? But if somebody calls up and says, can I come over for lunch? All of a sudden, it's a bar mitzvah. it's a party. Wouldn't you much rather cook for somebody else? Particularly women. Women would rather see their children eat than eat themselves. So why are we fighting ourselves? Why are we spiting ourselves? We love and need to be needed. So why do you keep looking for, does this serve my need? No, thank God. It's a mitzvah. Much more than your need. So one of the signs that Mashiach is very close is that people are not interested in their own needs anymore. You tell somebody, this will make your life better, they shut the door in your face. Stop telling me how to make my life better. I'm sick of it. Tell me how to make myself bigger than life. Now you got my attention. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon, You can read it, reread it, and share it. I want to invite you to join us as VIPs, partners in our work, and join us also for a personal chat with other members of the VIP club. We talk about many things. There's an opportunity to ask, to respond, to make a comment, to meet the other supporters. And together we can really make a difference in Jewish life and in life in general. So join us. It's goodtoknow.org. Log in, call, make contact, and join us with the VIPs.